Alright, okay. This is episode 3, obviously. The title says that. This one's going to be about market structure. Um, First of all, I'm going to answer a few questions that you guys have asked and cover that in the first few minutes, won't take too long. And then we're going to get into the two main topics of this video, which will be the first one will be failed structure points, and then the second one will be like a structural formation. Yeah, you'll see when I get to it. So let me just look at my notes real quick. This is so unprofessional, but hold on. So, okay, here they are. Right, okay, so first of all, someone said about intermediate term highs and lows and how a breaking structure has to break an intermediate term high or something like that. I think that's an ICT thing, and I don't trade like that. For me, market structure is like it's purely like it's simple. Like if it breaks a previous high low or low high, it's classed as a breaker structure. So previous low high, if we break that, it's a breaker structure. That's how I class it. Doesn't have to be intermediate term high, intermediate term low, anything like that. Um, Not to say that doesn't work, but that's just not the way I use structure. Um, and yeah, hopefully, if we're trending like this, is another question. If we're trending like this, let's say this. Which one do we? And we know we create a lower high, then we create a lower low. We reference this as our range. We don't reference this high and this low as our range. It's the lower high. So a lower high is the highest point that comes from this low, and that is reference. That's used as our structure point. So we don't use this one and look for PD rays in here. This will be usually internal range liquidity that we're going to take before going lower. So yeah, don't get confused with using this one as your structure point. It's always this one at the top, and the reason for that is because, well, this is kind of something a little bit different. You can't get a lower high until you make a lower low. So this is another thing. This is not a breaker structure. Let's just say we have previous structure point. So lower high, lower low. We can't get a new lower high until we get a lower low. So this is our previous lower high here. Only when we break this is it a breaker structure. It's not. This is not a breaker structure. Why? Because this is not a lower high. Why? Because we never made a lower low. So now price goes on to make the lower low, and this one is our structure point. So now this is our new range. Price can retrace, and you get the point. That's supposed to be taken, but yeah. And honestly, I think that was it. Let me just check. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Oh, and market structure shift. Market structure shift and break structure, same thing to me. And what is it? Catch or change of character? Yeah, no, it's just rename stuff. Or break structure, in my opinion, same thing. I only use breaker structure. Um, Obviously, people just rename things 50,000 times so that they can, um, like, yeah, people just rename things so you think like you're missing out on something. Um, it's all the same. It's all the same stuff. At least in my opinion. That's maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, I don't see it any other way. I just use break structure, so don't get confused with. I will never use market structure shift or anything like that. So yeah, hopefully that clears that up. Super simple stuff. And now we're gonna get onto the failed structure point. So let me just get rid of this. Okay, so essentially, let's say we're trending bullish, and price fails to create a high high and breaks to the downside. So this this is a failed high low. This should have been the high low to cause a new high high. And essentially, this point here failed to create a high high. So if you get this in the market and you see this failed high high now creates a breaker structure, we reference this point as our new structure point. Whereas before, if you're trending, you would reference this one, not this one, but now it's kind of the opposite. You reference the failed structure point. So, oops. So when price retraces, you're going to reference this high to this low as your range to get PD arrays and find your PD array, because all structure is used for is context, to find a specific point to buy or sell from. That's why structure is so powerful, and timeframes combined with structure is generally everything you ever need, because structure gives you the range to work within. It gives you the context of why you're choosing a specific PD array. First of all, we're not just pulling out random PD arrays. We've got specific reasoning for that PD array. It's all to do with structure, okay? And then once you figure out, let's say this is the 4-hour time frame. Now we've figured out our structure and our PD array of choice on the 4-hour time frame. Now time frames give you specific context to look for certain distribution on a certain time frame. We're not picking a random time frame. We've got reasoning for the PD array and for the time frame. That is everything you ever need. So if this is 4-hour, now you've got context of why you're using H1 M15 distribution to then sell to this low. Now you've got an actual reason for this drawing liquidity target. We're not just pulling random equal lows out. We've got an actual area that price should come and take out, because it's structure. That's why structure and time frames is all you need. And this is such like an elementary level of understanding structure and understanding entry techniques and understanding PD arrays. It can get so much deeper than this, but obviously you don't need that. But this is everything, in my opinion. This is the closest thing to quote unquote perfection in terms of my trading. And yeah, that's where most people lack in terms of when they explain things. They're not giving context of why you're using a specific PD array, why you're using a specific time frame. And if you understand multi-time frame analysis, understand structure, it gives you exact context of everything you ever need. It's so simple, and it's really powerful. Anyway, getting on back to this point, I'm not trying to be ICT and ramble about 50,000 topics in the middle of the teaching, but so I think because I generally forget where I was talking about, but I know I was talking about this is your range, and now you can choose this range to sell from. And I want to show you a few different variations just so you understand it. Basically, this point here that we're choosing is we are choosing. Oh God, I can spell. We are choosing the highest high that comes from the lowest low, if that makes sense. So let's draw out another example. On this one, we're choosing the highest high that comes from the lowest low. Is this the lowest low? No, this is the lowest low. So we're choosing the highest high that comes from this lowest low, which is this one. So now this is our reference for structure, if that makes sense. It's not this high here, because why? We're choosing the lowest low, because this would have been, if this went on to create a high high, this one would have been the high low. So yeah, it's the failed high that comes from this one here, if that makes sense. And I'll draw a final example. Say we've got like that, for example. Now we're choosing the highest high from the lowest low. This is the lowest low, this is the highest high. So this is our reference, if that makes sense. So yeah, and also just going on to the structure point, it's just like a classic normal breaker structure in the market. For this, like, to make this more high probable, you want to be using liquidity feeding into it, just like a normal breaker structure, and you want confirmation. You can have one or the other, or both, which is the most powerful form of setup in my opinion, because what price can do is, price can come and nick this liquidity if there's no liquidity feeding in, etc. Or if it's like obvious liquidity, it can nick it and then go lower. So just like a normal breaker structure, wait for the QM to form. Use this as your QM reference. So for example, in a QM we'd reference this low to frame positions of. Wait for the QM to form, or wait for confirmation at the level for it to be higher probability, because there are scenarios where it will work without liquidity or low time frame confirmation, but there are also scenarios where it will take this as the liquidity and then go lower. So yeah, just use it like as a QM for high probability, but obviously do your back testing and figure out when it works and when it doesn't. So yeah, really simple. And the second part is this structural formation, which will be let's say we're trending bullish again, and price fails to create a high but creates equal highs, okay? Now, I know AKFX has explained something like this in a QM formation, so like it fails to create a high, this is your liquidity to then buy. For me, I don't use this because in my what's the word? In my experience, the high here it has to be like painfully equal. It has to be equal highs. It has to be really obvious equal highs. Not like to the pip, but it has to be like equal highs. To me, this is not equal, so I would never use this. And also, it doesn't have to be in a QM formation. It can be during a trend. It can be as a QM, but it doesn't have to be a QM. It can be in the middle of a trend. So when this happens and price starts reversing, don't start thinking, oh my god, we're bearish. Of course price can come and break this low, absolutely. It can become a failed structure point, 100%. But if it's like obvious equal highs and we've still got some, actually this is a really good example. Let's say range made a high low and we're targeting this high high, and let's say now control is trending like this. If we get this equal highs here, also I call this equal highs OT. Obviously I come from a ICT background, so that's why I called it OT, vice versa for bearish. But let's say we create this equal highs. Now you can use this formation. Like, does it make sense for price to now break to the downside? No, it makes sense for price to reach to the drawn liquidity up here. So of course this break structure can happen, but if it's in this scenario here where we still haven't met a high time from drawing liquidity, it's more likely to be a continuation to go higher. So don't start worrying about, oh my god, it's going to break to the downside. If you have experienced this, think about, okay, this is a bullish setup, this is a really strong bullish setup, and I'll show you. If this ever happens, you've got two reference points to frame buys from. This one here and this one here, because our structure would be here to here, high low, high high. Obviously this is not a breaker structure. Why? Because price never made a high high, so this can't be a high low. So when would I frame buys off this level here? Well, there's two scenarios that I would frame buys from here. One, if we have liquidity feeding into this zone. Two, if we have confirmation at the zone. It can be one or the other. Confirmation and liquidity is going to be your strongest, but it can be one or the other. And if there's no liquidity, if there's no confirmation, then this will be used as liquidity feeding into this zone here. And this one you can place more limit orders at because it's high probability because you've got the liquidity feeding into it. But again, the safest way would be confirmation at this level to then target these equal highs. Yeah, it's super simple. You ever see failed high and it engineers equal highs? Just think, now you've got two levels to reference. This one here and this one here. Use this one if it's got liquidity feeding in or confirmation, and then use this one as a limit order or confirmation, which would be much safer. But yeah, it's so simple. I'll show you a few examples quickly. There's one on here on EU. This is a bearish scenario. What does price do? Fails to create a lower low and creates equal lows, really obvious equal lows. Now if we go back to the drawing, we've got two zones to reference. This one, where it's going to take this liquidity here. What does price do? It takes the liquidity. Why does it not play off here? Well, it's obvious equal highs. Why would everyone with two eyes and one eye can yeah, just see that's obviously equal highs. Like, it's just, it's obvious. And price nicks it and then targets equal lows as a continuation. Now, one or two things will happen. Price will either, just use this PD array, price will either play into the PD array. Let me just get rid of these two. Price will either play into the PD array and then sell, or it will take the liquidity, show confirmation, and then go. Because if you look in here, there was M5 confirmation. Also, look at this. We're using M15 structure. So what we're going to use is confirmation M5, M1. There's M5 confirmation here. Go check it out. Obviously M5 confirmation, M5 distribution confirms an M15 expansion. Where does price play to? This specific. We have context. We have reasoning to choose these lows. We know what time frame to look for. It's all there. It all makes perfect sense. Easy stuff. So there's one more. Actually, there's probably two more. Show you this good one here. We have equal lows plays into where? This level here. It doesn't take this high. There's probably confirmation in here to confirm an expansion. Equal low is really good. It's just so powerful. There's one here. Equal lows. Anyone can understand this is clear engineered liquidity. Where does price play to? Plays in here. What do we get? This is H4, so what were we trying to look for? H1 confirmation. We clearly get some form of H1 breaker structure. Also look at this. H1 high high, failed structure, boom breaker structure. It references this failed structure point. So it's like a 2-in-1. It's so simple. Obviously this one has no liquidity feeding into it, same with this one. So we would only use it if there's confirmation. And clearly there was confirmation. And yeah, perfect. So it's really, really powerful. It's just because a lot of people get, they start panicking when price reverses and fails to create a lower low. But if it's equal lows, it's fine. Even if it reverses and we've got some sells in here, it's fine. We're going to get a new opportunity. It's not a bullish market, it's still bearish. Remember, it's still bearish until we actually break the structure point. And yeah, just understand you've got 2 reference points to choose from. So yeah, really, really simple. And there's not much else to talk about this. I might bring out a volume 2 into this might be volume 1 about structure, and then the next one might be volume 2, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go over that just yet. And I think this is episode 3, so episode 4 will be I actually don't know. I'll have to check my notes about, but there's going to be like 5 episodes, and then if you want I can do examples, so we can like go over EU over specific days where these concepts are really clean, even if they don't work, and I can explain why they don't work. You just ask me, and I don't want to cherry pick things and make it look perfect, because obviously nothing is perfect. This doesn't work 100% at the time, nothing does, but if you truly understand it, it is the closest thing to 100% or perfection in my opinion. For example, after this equal lows, OT has formed, what do we get? M15 break structure. If this is M15, let's show you the order block. What do we want to look for confirmation in here? M5, right? And if we go to M5, M5 breaks structure, pulls back, and confirms. As soon as M5 breaks structure, there's your confirmation for M15 to make a high high. Also, this M5 comes from an M15 already, so technically you can hold this M5 to H1. Where was H1 structure? Lower high, lower low, or lower low. None of these are your structure points, because why? Price never made a lower low yet. So all of this is internal liquidity. It's obviously obvious equal highs, which is why price put to the upside, but we never know that, so we can only reference the structure point. So we can target all this internal range liquidity with this buy from here. Simple. M15 equals H1 target. Obviously, to confirm this M15, to be safe, we're going to use confirmation. What confirmation is that? M5, M1. There you go, there's your confirmation. Super simple. Super simple. So yeah, that's honestly it, to be honest. Like I said, also make sure to join my Telegram, because I've been, in my opinion, dropping some good gems in there. Honestly, if you study what I've shown in there, it's really powerful, and I'm going to continue to do that. Obviously I don't gain anything from Telegram or anything like that, so it's purely for your benefit and not mine. So yeah, make sure to do that. But hopefully this video did help, and I'll try to get the next one out within a week. Should be next week, or maybe Thursday.